I'll go ahead and call to order the meeting of the Austin City Planning Commission for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. First up, we need to approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was Tuesday, September 10th. Any of the commissioners have any additions or corrections to those minutes as written? If not, could I please get a motion and a second to approve them as written?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Was that you, Melissa? Okay. Have a motion from Commissioner Swenson and a second from Commissioner Schrock to approve the minutes from Tuesday, September 10th as written. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries 6-0. The minutes are approved as written. One item on the agenda, the open public hearing to consider petition from Mill on Main 2 LLC for a variance to the parking, off-street parking requirement, or total stalls of parking requirement. Holly?
This property is on B2 commercial. To the north is multifamily residential with commercial, and to the south is commercial. And then the east there's Mill Pond and industrial, and then west there's multifamily residential. The petitioner has applied for a variance from our Austin City Code that requires 1.5 parking stalls per apartment or dwelling unit. So that would require 154.5 parking stalls for their new proposed apartment development. Mill on Main 2 proposes to provide 125 parking stalls, which would equate to 1.21 spaces per unit. The existing Mill on Main had added 1.6 spaces per apartment, or had provided 74% of the required parking. Here they propose to provide 81% of the required parking, but note that we have a new parking ordinance which reduced the requirement from 2.25 for the first Mill on Main to 1.5 parking stalls now, which that's a little confusing. But so the original Mill on Main would now meet 100% of our required parking. But they did have some notes on their application that they, let's see, I'll go down here. That they have typically only parked at 70% capacity. So that would equal a parking ratio of 1.16 parking spaces per unit. They said Mill on Main will be the same use and is proposed again to be 1.21 parking spaces per unit. Go back up here. I just noted that the two neighboring properties are Pickett Place and the 800 First Drive condos, which have their own parking. The Planning Commission and City Council must decide if the variance variance meets the statutory requirements. This would be a recommendation from Planning Commission, again, to City Council. City Council will make the final decision. The variance should be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning code. The variance should be consistent with our comprehensive plan. The application should have established that there are practical difficulties in complying with the provision and that the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by the provision. The plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner. The variance will not permit any use that is not allowed in the zoning district where the affected land is located, and the variance will not alter the essential character of the surrounding area. Just going back down to the notes. Yeah, I just have the notes here on their application. And they just note that at the end, constructing only the number of stalls required to make this facility operate successfully is a benefit to Austin as it reduces impervious area. on this site by not constructing unneeded parking stalls. And I would agree that we do seem to have a plethora of parking areas that are not fully utilized. And especially it's an issue, I think, in our downtown areas where space is at a premium. And to encourage projects like this, sometimes they are going to go into, in our downtown areas, they're going to be maybe not easily fitting within our ordinary zoning code requirements.
Is the current mill on Main building, they said they're only using 70% of their parking, are they 100% rented?
That's my
70%?
question. Are they fully occupied?
Yeah.
That's my question. How did they
Yes.
arrive at 70%? Where did they come from? They just go out one day at 10 o'clock in the morning and count cars? Because that doesn't.
My understanding is that they've been fully occupied since they completed the project.
I mean, if they're using.
That's why they're doing another.
If they're using
apartment.
70% of their parking stalls and they're only 60% occupied, they're actually gonna be short of stalls if they're at 100% occupancy.
Yeah, no, everything I've heard is that they are completely occupied, and I think
Can I comment at least?
And then I'd like to
Commissioner
comment too.
Norman does work for
Yeah.
the Stencil Group. And do you know if,
Yeah, they're completely full. They have been since basically they opened. I think a lot of the numbers come from, some people don't drive. Some people just ride their bike, especially due to the location downtown. That's a huge thing, and Melissa lives there too.
Yeah, I live there and I have 2 drivers in my household, and neither one of us ever have any issues with parking at the current apartment complex.
But you're a perfect example that it's more than 1.5 though, right?
Only because he's a minor. Otherwise it would just be me that is driving when I have my kids.
Then there's people that don't drive at all, that don't have vehicles. Because there's a lot of people that maybe work at the Institute or at Mayo that come here for research. A lot of them are from Dubai, and they don't drive, they don't plan to drive here. So they want to be at a place that's within walking distance for them and their family. It's unique, back in the day, I think, everybody had a car. If you had 2 people in your household, 2 people had a car. Nowadays, that's not the case. A lot of them go down to 1 vehicle. So, or they're sharing that vehicle, you know what I mean?
So this is the old overflow lot for the YMCA, correct?
yeah,
So what's it being used for now? And
Basically, they've got equipment stored there and
That-
stuff. They're starting to clean it up, it looks like.
has it been used publicly for any of the downtown festivities or any?
no, it's kind of it's an area that could use some improvements, to be fair. And it does collect water during flooding events, which they're aware of and will
I think
work.
they planned to build there originally when they built the first edition. They mentioned at that
I
time
can't
that they
remember.
planned,
Yeah, they definitely plan to do 2.
yep.
From the
and that it was
beginning,
gonna
yeah.
go there, so it's just been kind of set in there since.
But so it would be a private parking situation then when it's
Yeah,
for
yeah.
forever now.
Yeah, I don't think anybody parks in. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody parking in there. I would say there is a trend, although every circumstance is unique, but there is definitely a trend to require less off-street parking for projects. I see it all the time in engineering and planning conferences and webinars, and actually the state is proposing some new zoning rules that they would like to apply to the cities across the state that are, I think, lowering. I'd have to look at it again, but
Yeah, there was a
lowering
big thing in the
off-street
Tribune
parking.
just last weekend, in the Sunday Tribune, about up in the metro areas, a lot of the municipalities up there are reducing their,
off-street
those
parking.
requirements.
Yeah, they have more public transit too,
Right,
so that
in
helps.
denser populated areas, I think it
Yeah.
makes sense on a case-by-case basis, but I'm not comfortable here yet with us going below 1.5. I don't, as far as the ordinance goes, I mean, on a case-by-case basis, a variance like this, I'm okay with that, but don't, especially when you get into the downtown areas. I know it makes more sense, but then the issue with if you don't have enough parking, then people are parking on the street, and it's even more congested because you're downtown. So it exacerbates the problem that we have with parking, so. I think we
Yeah,
have to
I
be
don't
really
know.
careful with it.
I mean, perhaps they could use both lots if, since they own both. One's underutilized and one's overutilized.
I do look at that every time I go through that first drive area, and there's never a lot of parking on the street there. And in fact, they don't even allow parking in front of the mill building. There's
Yeah,
no
on First
parking there.
Drive.
I think there's one stall in front of the lanes is all, so it's not a problem with street parking now, so. And it doesn't look like the lot in back on the Main Street side is ever completely full, so. I don't think it is a problem, and I don't think this would be a problem for the new building, but as far as, I just don't wanna see us get too aggressive about reducing those numbers and all of a sudden saying we need less than one like they're talking about up in the metro area and stuff. I get a little nervous with that.
Am I closing my?
And so if I'm understanding this right, forgive me, I'm a rookie still, this would give them the ability to sell the property or do whatever they want with it if they reduce the needed or required parking capacity, is that correct, or am I
It would,
understanding that right?
I think it would just impact the design of the apartment buildings
Yeah, they just need
because they
the
don't have
space.
enough space there.
They'll offer so many stalls inside and they'll offer so many outside. And it's the total number that they're trying to keep as low as they can to keep
Oh,
the.
sure, I forgot about the inside.
So does it the current building have inside
Oh, yeah,
parking?
yeah, it's
I forgot
got
about
like
that.
40
I didn't realize
50.
that.
There's only like 48 outside, and they said they have
67.
103
67 spots, I believe it is.
inside. Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay. That's quite a
And
few.
they have charging stations in there and everything else that are being utilized, I know. So it's a nice setup.
So the required parking, if they had all the spaces, would be,
We did the same thing for those apartments by the Institute. I remember we approved a lower density for the parking lot there too, and that one.
Out by CSI
That one,
too.
that one has different occupancy numbers though, I think. I'm not sure if they've even filled that thing up yet.
So is it the same thing with the building, the new one by the post office? I know they have underground parking there.
They didn't ask for a variance there, so they must meet the requirement based on the number of units they have, I guess.
yeah, that's not quite as big.
They have
Has fewer-
underground,
They have
too.
fewer units, like maybe, was it like 43 or something like that? I can't remember for sure, but. No, they didn't, but they have quite a large space for the number of units. Let's see, so they would be short, let's see, it looks like 29 spaces.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And they're proposing 125. So 1.21 spaces per unit versus 1.5. I mean, I can't imagine that they would want to be in a position where they would be short on off-street parking, but I guess we wouldn't know for sure until they got it occupied and were using the space, depending on how the decision goes.
Well, when you rent there, do they tell you how many spots you get? Do they assign spots?
Well, I park in the garage, and then my son just parks in the regular parking. So it's never been an issue. There's always plenty of
Do they
spots.
assign you those spots or?
My indoor parking is assigned, but the outside parking is not.
Do you have to pay a fee to park inside? Do they charge you a
Charge
fee?
for the inside spot?
I do pay for indoor parking.
Okay.
That's pretty typical. Any other questions from the commissioners? If not, is anybody ready to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to recommend the council to approve this reduced from 1.5 spaces per unit to 1.21 spaces per unit.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion from Commissioner Lindberg and a second from Commissioner Schrock to recommend the council to approve the request for the variance on the parking from 1.5 per apartment to 1.21 as proposed by the developer. Jana, are you gonna vote or?
I can't, I'll
Okay.
have to abstain.
All right, so, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
All opposed, no. So the motion carries 5-0 with one abstention. Anything else?
No, I gotta get back to you guys on the automotive uses, but I thought it might be a little crazy tonight, and then it turned out to not be.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be two.
Yeah.
I had a
No,
question
no,
about that
everything
too. We get, in the packet, we get a list of the people who get notified on any variance or whatever where that's required. We used to also get whatever they were sent in the packet.
Oh, usually I think that's in there, but
I didn't see it in there. So I just wanted to ask, make sure we get that, so we know what it was they received.
okay.
Like
just-
when they call or send us emails or whatever, we know what they're talking about. Cause I don't, I think we all got an email. I know I got one. I think everybody was copied on one thing. Okay.
About this parking issue?
No, this was about the Ramsey thing.
Yeah, I think everyone did. Yeah, I think, yeah,
Okay.
pretty much, yeah. I have nothing else.
Any commissioners got anything else? If not, I will entertain a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Swenson and a second from Commissioner Norman to adjourn. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
I.
Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. We are adjourned.